Well, you know what this is all about. They want Karmelo to be this election's George Floyd. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Let me just go ahead and say it because everyone's tiptoeing around it. That's not what this show's built on. Oh, no. Just keep on listening. See how many people I can horrify today. No, it's really not going to be that offensive, actually. There are people who are worked up on both sides. But I would like to remind you, me, everyone that could possibly listen to this show, even if you're listening on the podcast 8 days later, that these goobers that you're seeing in these viral video clips that are circulating around about the white supremacists or the black supremacists, go kill cracker, or they're tripping out, or just all this racist stuff that's going on, that is the far fringe of the population. This is not the norm. White and black people get along all day, every day. We go to work together. We go to school together. I wish we went to church together more, but we can work on that. We go to our Cowboys games together. We lament the Mavs trading Luka together. This is not the norm. However, there's a lot of crazy people out there, huh? Even if it's just 1% of the population. Remember, if races, these actual races, black supremacists or white supremacists, if they're just 1% of the population, that's what, 3 million of them? That's an army of idiots out there. So that's what the real circus is. You and I have already made up our minds about the case itself. The more interesting part of the storyline that's going to affect you and me, because this is happening in our backyard, is will there be riots? And that's not just a rhetorical question. You're welcome to speculate with me, 800-288-9227. But let's get caught up on the trial. WFAA did a great update this morning.
Hello, Kara, and the defense continues to call their witnesses. So far this morning, they've called up more of the track athletes who were there at the track meet to testify not only about what they saw, but also about the culture, the atmosphere at these track meets, the fact that it's not unusual for them to roam around the bleachers, be social, maybe even stay underneath another team's tent if they know someone. It remains to be seen if Karmelo Anthony will testify in his own defense. The first witness of the day that was called by the defense this morning was another teammate of Anthony's. He testified that Anthony seemed to be in a normal mood that morning and saw the commotion coming from the tent. The witness said when he looked, he saw Austin Metcalf extending his arms out to push Anthony, followed by Anthony jogging away. He described it as a light jog, and Metcalf pulling up his shirt to discover the stab wound. The witness said he saw Anthony very distraught later, crying that I told him not to touch me. We're waiting to see if Anthony will be called to the stand and tell the jury in his own words why he claims he acted in self-defense. But our legal expert, Bree West, says there's always a risk because even if a defendant testifies the truth, prosecutors can still use the opportunity to their advantage.
There's only so much preparation that you can do. These are seasoned prosecutors. They are ready for this case. They've been preparing for a long time. And so do you want to subject your client? I mean, even if you're just, sort of stumbling over a word, a really strong prosecutor can turn that against you. And it has nothing to do with the truthfulness of what you're saying.
All right, so everybody in the media right now in North Texas has a friend or a colleague or someone that they're in touch with at the trial. Twice this morning, there have been long pauses. And the speculation on that is there being a plea deal offered in the background? Are they getting closer to a plea deal? Because if this trial is not looking so good and the plea deal is still on the table, sometimes these court cases just fold up in the middle of everything and the plea deal's taken and the jury doesn't get to make the final decision. Now, a common legal analyst on the James Show, Jeremy Rosenthal, was on with Matt Locke this morning. I thought maybe I should have Jeremy come on and just sort of redo what he did, but to be fair, I'll just play what was on WBAP. Matt Locke is on from 9 to 11, and 3 crucial pieces of information were shared here, and give Rosenthal a little credit for being impartial and dispassionate here.
I was told there was a plea deal offered, but Dad didn't want it. Is that true?
I don't know that.
Okay.
And that wouldn't be public, so I don't know. And I'll be candid with you, that's the first I've heard of it. So I would think, and when you say dad, do you mean the Metcalf's father or Karmelo's parents?
I was told by a reliable source, Karmelo's folks, the dad, they were offered a plea deal and didn't take it, is what I was told.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's how this goes. A lot of times, especially when you're dealing with young people, the DA's office would usually clear any kind of a plea in this case with the victim's family. And they're not required to, but they would typically do that. And, when you're dealing with Karmelo Anthony, when you're dealing with young people,
Yep.
It's really not uncommon for them to sort of default to their parents to say, hey, mom, dad, should I do this? Should I not do this? So that's entirely possible.
Okay, so that was an interview that happened about 9:35 on WBAP this morning, and there was a weird pause. There was like a recess. Now, since that interview, they did another extended recess. They had a longer than usual lunch, which means maybe more than lunch was happening. Now, since then, they've gotten back to business. So I don't know if they tried another plea deal or they got closer, or I really don't know what's going on. But we've had 2 reports of lengthy recesses today, which sometimes can coincide with that. All right, we continue with Jeremy Rosenthal from TexasDefenseFirm.com on with Matt Locke on WBAP this morning.
A lot of people are talking about he didn't have the money. They had the give, send, go of over $700,000, but yet claimed a public defender, and then was told that the actual defense is pro bono. So do you know if any of that is the case?
My understanding is that they raised money through they had a court-appointed lawyer who was an outstanding lawyer, and they'd have been just fine if they had kept him. They went to a couple of folks I recall that I had never heard of before. And then they ended up hiring Mike Howard, who is a fine lawyer. He brought on Toby Shook, who is a fine lawyer. My understanding is that they're being paid through a GoFundMe. I know that through the media. That's just because of what I've been told. Those lawyers aren't free. I'm not aware of any money being allocated any different way. But what happens is when you are indigent, the county underwrites you individually. And so it's not uncommon to have so for instance, take somebody who's struggling with drugs and alcohol. Maybe they're 30 years old and they're sort of destitute. They've burned through 5 or 6 jobs, and grandma's got a lot of money and grandma wants them to have the best lawyer that she can afford. So that person really has the choice there between their own indigent defense lawyer or the private attorney who grandma hires.
All right, and one more take on the legal view of what's going on with the Karmelo Anthony trial. Because look, there's a lot of cultural stuff that's going on, and we'll talk about the security stuff and the possibility of riots in the next segment. And, there's Black Panthers there, whatnot. But this is actually part of the function of the trial itself. Jeremy Rosenthal, TexasDefenseFirm.com, on Matt Locke on WBAP. This is about 9:40 this morning.
So prosecution rest. Do you think they did a good job? How do you think the case went for them?
I think it went as well as it could have gone for them. They've got a lawyer named Bill Werski, who's the lead prosecutor. He's an outstanding lawyer. He's everything a prosecutor ought to be. They have a lot of resources. There's 5 lawyers, 6 lawyers at counsel table for the prosecution. They got 2 lawyers on the defense side. They've got appellate lawyers. They've got all the fun exhibits and all the technology. They've been able to meet with witnesses multiple times. It was a very polished presentation for the prosecution.
All right, so that was Jeremy Rosenthal, TexasDefenseFirm.com, breaking it down from the point of view of a lawyer. Now, coming up next, you're going to get the point of view of a retired NYPD detective, and currently he's the host of the Gold Shields podcast, because what's going to happen if the protesters don't like the verdict in the Karmelo Anthony case? Are they trying to make this election's George Floyd riots? 800-288-9227. Find out next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, Texas homeowners, all this rain, really good for your garden, really good for your crops, really bad for your roof, though. James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. If you go to blueribbondfw.com, schedule a free inspection, what's going to happen is John or someone next to John is going to come out, jump on top of your house, take a look at everything, make sure it's okay. If there is some problems, maybe it's just a quick fix, or maybe you need a whole new roof. The good part is they will help you with the insurance company. And it's not that I'm an idiot and I don't know how to mess with the insurance company. It's that you don't do this all day, every day. They have done thousands, plural, thousands of insurance claims. They know when you're getting jerked around. They know when you're getting lowballed. They know when the insurance company should do the right thing and cover the whole thing or cover half the thing or whatever the policy says. And you don't. And it's not, look, you just haven't done it 1,000 times. So at some point, if you're having problems with your house or you think you might be, you're going to have to trust somebody. I'm telling you, trust Blue Ribbon Roofing. Go to blueribbondfw.com, check out some of the 5-star Google reviews from your neighbors, and then schedule your free home inspection. blueribbondfw.com. Yeah, I'm not so sure you should be all worried about the next round of riots. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Boy, the news is really trying to hype it up, though. You know, it's kind of self-evident what the heck's going on here in the mindset of some of these newsrooms. because the Carmelo Anthony story didn't make national news. It wasn't on CNN all weekend like it was this weekend, or MSNBC, or even Fox News. It wasn't on any of these national outlets when it happened, or when he was arraigned, or when the pretrial stuff was going down, or the press conference with Dominic Alexander where he was calling out Sarah Fields. Y'all remember all that? Well, now all of a sudden everyone's super interested. Well, what's going on? It's election season. It's time for a race war. Come on, we're 6 months away from the next election. And you know the formula. This has worked in the past. Time for a race war.
It's on! Race war! Race war! Race war! Race war's on, everybody! It's going down! It's going down!
Okay, that's what they want to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. Let's have a chat with my next guest, Tom Smith. He's a retired NYPD detective, host of the Gold Shield podcast. Welcome back, Tom Smith. Do you think that there's going to be some civil unrest? Do you think there's going to be some riots if the Carmelo Anthony verdict upsets his supporters? You know, I think for a large part, there is the riots happen in places that allow it. The protests that get out of control happen in places that pretty much want it. They try that stuff in Dallas before. They've tried to block the entrance to Dallas Love Field Airport or block a highway or something like that. Then the police just come and start and arrest them, and it breaks up immediately. I mean, is a riot really just a choice of the local jurisdiction? Well, I feel like this is something the Southern Poverty Law Center was funding both sides of. Do you think they're still doing that? Like, who is paying for Jake Lang to come over here? Who is paying for, I believe it was Jacob Blake Sr., the dad of Jacob Blake, the guy who was one of these other controversies. You know, who is funding this? You had referenced funding earlier. All right, Tom Smith. Likelihood of Carmelo Anthony being found guilty of murder. Do you have a strong opinion on that, or are you just concerned about the security aspect? All right, what's coming up on the Gold Shield podcast? Sweet, love it. All right, thank you very much. This is Tom Smith, Gold Shields podcast. Appreciate you being on the James Show, sir. With that, we go to the great Lawrence in Fort Worth. Good afternoon, Lawrence. Glad to hear from you.
Good afternoon, James. Thank you for taking my call. You know what? I think I should give the listening audience a little bit about my background. I'm involved in union politics, UAW politics. I speak regularly to politicians at the national and the local level. I am an advisor to people who try to get elected inside the UAW. And I'm from Flint, Michigan. I'm third generation auto worker. I'm retired from General Motors. I'm in the security business. I'm a practicing martial artist. I'm a gun collector, and I'm a supporter of the police, and I'm a supporter of the military. With that being said, let me tell white America who listen to the radio this. You got to quit being intimidated by these hood rat blacks. They don't speak for people like me. They do not speak for working America. You cannot be intimidated by them. And if anybody wants to riot because of Karmelo, whatever this dude's name is, he's a hood rat. His family is hood rats. Because anybody who will go out and kill another human being without legal provocation, I'm one of these people who believe strongly in stand your ground. But if somebody push you and they don't have a weapon and you kill them, in my book and in the book of a lot of people, black people who feel like me, that's murder. And anybody who wants to riot behind that, I will stand with anybody who stands against these thugs and hood rats. Because in the real world, right is right, wrong is wrong, and color ain't got nothing to do with it. And I'm going to tell you something right now. If anybody down here wants to sit up and riot and clown and show their butt because that dude is thug and he's guilty, the apple don't fall far from the tree. Just think what his family must be like. If you raise a predator like that, and I'm going to say this, most of these young blacks like him, they've been feminized. Real men don't do stuff like that. This is the feminization of black males in America. This is what you're looking at. Real men will stand toe-to-toe and go knuckle-to-knuckle with you. In the real world, if you don't have a weapon in your hand, I'm not putting a weapon in mine. How you going to justify killing somebody and they ain't got a weapon and they didn't hit you in your mouth, they didn't beat you down, 2 or 3 didn't jump you, push you, and you kill a person, and some people going to riot behind that? Come on, white America. I grew up with white people. I hired in with the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan in General Motors in 1976. People who had never went to school with black folks taught me to deer hunt, snowmobile, ice fish, and so on and so on. And I'm going to tell you, in the real world, you don't take this. You don't let nobody kill your kid, intimidate you. And James,
Yes,
my
sir.
brother, here's the real world. If he'd have killed some black people that I know under the same circumstances, his family would be toast. Because I'm one of them black people who feel like this. If my son and daughter ain't did nothing to you to justify you killing them and you kill them, if you hurt me and mine, I'm going to hurt you and yours. This is why black America respect people like me. Al Sharptons fear me. All these so-called race baiters fear me because I'm a man that believes in 2 things. I believe in God and I believe in myself. And I don't fear nothing I can kill. If it walks, crawl, breathe air, I can kill it. I am a peace-loving man. I believe in peace. I believe in doing the right thing. But if you push me, I'll take you out. And there are a lot of people who feel like me. A lot of people, James.
All right, Lawrence. That's a great rant. I hate to cut you off. We got to do news. That's great, Lawrence from Fort Worth. Always welcome on the James Show. And I'm glad he got to say that before you hear the audio coming up next, talking about killing crackers and whatnot. It's silliness, but we'll get a good chuckle out of it. 800-288-9227. Reviewing the Karmelo Anthony trial on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, something's going on at the Karmelo Anthony trial. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Remember when I told you when the show started just a half hour ago that there's been a long lunch? Court was scheduled to resume at 12:30 today in the Karmelo Anthony murder trial going on up in Frisco. And as of show starting time, I have multiple people reporting that they're still waiting to go back into the courtroom. No explanation of what the heck's going on. So a lot of speculation from the court watchers that sort of centers around the idea that there may be a plea deal. I don't know. Let's see, Xavier DeRusso. Who else? Sippy Cup reported on that, which I think Sippy Cup might be on later in the week. He's been at the trial. He's a independent journalist doing some great work. JD Miles from CBS News here locally also tweeted that as well. So there's three people that are saying the same thing. So I can't be at the trial and do the show at the same time, but I can definitely relay to you info from people who have. Now, the trial is going to be one part of the story. The other part of the story is the circus that's happening around it. Now, listen, I don't think there's going to be riots. Of course, there should not be riots. I am never pro-riot. There's never been a right-wing riot. I mean, you could think of January 6th as the closest we've ever come. But I mean, how real was that? Nothing even got set on fire. They didn't even knock over the velvet ropes in Statuary Hall. Anyway, that being said, there's a guy out there who's going viral. He's wearing a dashiki. Apparently, he's not a big fan of my skin color here. That's all right. People can disagree and whatever. But there were some people, some sleuths online who were saying this is Jacob Blake Sr. And no big medium has confirmed that, but several independent sleuths who are often wrong, I should say, are saying that. I don't know if this is Jacob Blake Sr., the guy who's the father of Jacob Blake Jr., the guy that got shot up and Drew Brees put his name on his helmet back in the day in 2020 or whenever that was. But I just want to play you a few of these clips, and I want you to think in the back of your mind, remember the story about the Stars Nazis? Do you not remember the story about the Stars? Do you remember the Stars Nazis? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So back in December, there were some guys who may have made a Nazi salute at a Stars game in a viral video. 4 months later, people were still tracking them down, and they got them banned from the American Airlines Center. It made the news multiple times in April for a racist gesture that may have happened back in December. That was newsworthy. Well, here we have some actual, not even perceived racism. Clearly, these are racial remarks. Is this going to make news? Is this Jacob Blake Sr. going to make news?
Get my face on the camera. We kill crackers. Where I come from, we kill them. And if I ever see you outside of Texas, you going to have a problem. Yup. I'm going to wrap you up in that flag and I'm going to set it on fire.
Yeah, we kill crackers. Isn't that sweet? Are they having fun? And this is a warm fun. Remember, y'all, love trumps hate. The only thing that can trump hate is love. Remember being lectured on the Super Bowl by some guy that doesn't even speak English? The only thing that trumps hate is love. Is this love?
Only good cracker is a dead cracker. Only good cracker is a dead cracker. Only good cracker is a dead cracker.
Dude, I want to put that in a promo so bad. Listen to the James Show, afternoons 2 to 5. The only good cracker is a dead cracker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Or whatever the little stinger noise is. Here's another good one. Because you heard cracker.
You heard what I said, cracker.
I love that one. That is so going to be in a promo. No, there's not going to be riots. Calm down. Marguerite in Denison. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, Marguerite.
Hi, James. Thank you for taking my call. I have a question about Karmelo, however you say his name, Anthony.
Karmelo.
Was he involved in a gang initiation, or does he have gang affiliations?
Probably not. No, it doesn't have to be that complex.
Well, sometimes a gang initiation, they do have to kill somebody, whether by knife or by gun.
Understandable, but in the history of gang initiations, they've never done so at a track meet. In fact, I was just doing a little research on the context here because, he's got a fear for his life. Well, has anybody ever been killed at a track meet before? And the answer was no. Actually, since the Karmelo Anthony stab, murder, whatever you want to call of Austin Metcalf, there was a person that was killed at a track meet in the last calendar 12 months since this happened. So for all of your life, Marguerite, there has been no murders at a track meet. In the last year and a half, there's been 2.
Yeah. Well, we've got crazy people that need to be in an asylum.
Definitely. But there's just something weird because me and Miss Parker talk about all the time, just the capacity to do something like this. Because like,
Oh, you have to be pretty sick. You have to be very sick.
well, think about it. The studies show that if I put my finger in your mouth and I said, I will give you $20,000 if you bite my finger off right now, your shared humanity wouldn't let you wouldn't be able to physically do it. Your brain wouldn't let you close your teeth. A sociopath could. A psychopath wants to. And so you have to be one of those two flavors of mental deficiency to be able to say, oh, this guy pushed me. I will plunge a knife into his beating heart. Jesus, just the fact that he can do that. He's a monster, should be removed from society. Mike Garland, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hello, James. Well, I would like to offer how I think handling violent mob crowds to contrast the labor union guys saying, white people, you need to stand up. Well, what you're doing there is creating one mob versus another mob, which all of this is just going to escalate into total civil war one day.
Not if we're standing up in the same mob as Lawrence. If me and Lawrence are standing together shouting at both the white racist idiot Jake Lang and Jacob Blake Sr., the black racist idiot, I think that but that's the problem with being in the middle. There's nothing exciting. There's nothing compelling about being in the middle of the spectrum. It's only the fringes that are noisy.
Yeah, well, it's extremism on both sides when actually it is the government's job to do their job. And if I were the mayor of any city, I would say, and any rational thinking mayor should say, yeah, sure, if you want to peacefully protest and you want to march down the street, you go right ahead. But the moment you commit any crime, including violence, assault, looting, vandalism, arson, bashing out windows, fighting each other, whatever, the moment you start committing a crime, we're going to tear gas the holy heck out of you. And if that doesn't work, we're going to shoot you with rubber bullets. And if that doesn't work, we're getting out the lead. But this stuff will stop.
Most towns and jurisdictions live by that creed, and that's why most of them don't have riots. Riots are a tool that is used by the local powers that be to further their political agenda. They allow riots to happen. Riots do not just spontaneously get out of control. Why do they not have riots in small towns? Why do they never have riots in any red state jurisdiction or red county jurisdiction or red city jurisdiction? Why is it only happening in blue jurisdictions? Because it is by choice. 800-288-9227. I'm getting rumors that the defense may have rested in the Karmelo Anthony case. I'm going to check with the WBAP newsroom on the break, and I'll get you updated on that next. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, breaking news. The defense rests in the Karmelo Anthony murder trial. That's literally breaking news on the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker, on your home for Markley Van Camp and Robbins. Three funny guys that this story's so big, even the national shows are talking about it. Fox News has been flashing it on their screen about every 7 minutes since I've sat down today in the WBAP mothership. MSNBC or MSNO or Miss Now or whatever they're called. They're on it. CNN's on it. It's a hot story. Now, I think some people would like to try and blow this up and start the new race war because it's election season and we got to start breaking stuff and getting people. No, that's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. But the antennas are buzzing here because the expectation was that Karmelo Anthony was going to take the stand. And if the defense changed their mind on that, does that mean something changed their mind? Does that mean something didn't go their way? When you see the people who are actually in the gallery reporting what they hear on Twitter/X, there was one case that was called by the defense today, this morning, who changed his story, who originally said that Karmelo Anthony was surrounded by the other track team. But when he was showed the video, albeit the video is from a big distance, you can kind of tell he's not surrounded by the other track team. The other track team was around him. So he kind of amended his story. And so that was seen as like a little buzzy, like, ooh, why would you put him on the stand? Did you not coach him better than that? But the prosecution was able to make a little bit of hay out of one witness, and this is according to, there's about a dozen people that are in there and just constantly tweeting what they're seeing. So with the defense resting, this gets the jury sent home for the day. Not going to start the next phase. Everyone's going to go home. They're going to get a good night's sleep tomorrow. The prosecution and the defense both get their closing statements. Then it will be turned over to a jury. And then the waiting games begins in earnest. And the waiting game meaning there's going to be nothing else going on. There's going to be no more witnesses, no more pieces of evidence, no more statements. It's just maybe we go outside and we make fun of the protesters for a second. But as far as the trial goes, we are just two closing statements away from this thing being turned over to the jury. I do not think there is going to be riots. There certainly should not be riots. I've never encouraged anyone to go riot. I don't think I've even encouraged anyone to protest in my entire life. I've never said, hey, you know how we can best arrange our affairs of state? Go make a foam core sign with some magic markers and go block a road. I don't think that's what the founding fathers intended. I don't think that's very useful. I don't think it's very helpful. I think it probably makes some people who like attention, makes them feel good about themselves. I'm helping. But no, I don't think this is going to be the George Floyd case that the media and really Team Blue wants, although they are going to try. There's going to be a ramped up effort whenever this verdict comes out because they're not going to be happy with it. And they'll give it about 24, maybe 48 hours. And when that spaghetti doesn't stick to the wall, they'll move on. That's my prediction. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, updates on the Iran war. And you're not going to believe this. I heard it might be over soon. Well, will it really this time? I don't think so. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, is the Iran war about to be over, like, for real this time? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Now, I get kind of excited because, the president's telling you, hey, it sounds like it's about to be over. We're wrapping this thing up. That's what he said last week. That's what he said the week before that. That's what he's been saying for the last 2 months, really. So, with that, well, I don't think he said it since it started. When it first started, Garrett said it. That's what he said since it started. We were given, what was it, 6 to 8 weeks as the timeline? Or was it 4 to 6 weeks? I think it was 6 to 8 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, something to that effect. So we gave him a couple months of, not even mashing the gas. Let's, see how fast you can ramp this up. But we've had the near miss, the almost kiss over and over and over. And so it's starting to feel like Lucy in the football, not buying it anymore. However, you got to think at some point this is going to wrap up. The only question is, what are the details going to be? WFAA had a nice, succinct summary this morning.
Navan, the number one rated business travel.
That's the ad there, because I'm an idiot.
Flights, hotels.
New overnight, Israel and Iran are trading attacks again in the region as the war in Iran passes the 100-day mark. Overnight, Israel says it struck missile sites in Iran after Iran fired nearly a dozen missiles into Israel, the first since a ceasefire agreement 2 months ago. It all started Sunday after Iranian-backed Hezbollah fired projectiles into northern Israel. In response, Israel launched a deadly strike at Hezbollah in Lebanon, which got Iran involved. The escalation is now testing relations between President Trump and Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
So the connection here between our top two stories here, Karmelo Anthony and the Iran war, is the unfortunate overlap they have with politics. The Karmelo Anthony case is only getting national attention because Team Blue is hoping with their fingers crossed that this catches fire and becomes the George Floyd of this election season. The Iran war is something that no one's really concerned about because we know it's not really going to blow up and it's not going to really turn into anything dire or more explosive than it already is. Why? Because we know there's an election in 6 months. So I think no one is expecting boots on the ground. I think no one is expecting any nuclear escalation. And it's all tied back to ugly old politics. We can't have an honest conversation on the facts around the Karmelo Anthony Austin Metcalf case with about, a third, maybe 20% of this country because they've lost their mind. The Iran war, it's crazy how little people are taking a war serious in modern America. But look how it affects your life. None. Oh, what, we're going to have like a bigger deficit at the end of the year, so there's going to be slightly higher inflation. That does affect you. But that's not how war affected pretty much every other generation in human history. You go back to medieval times or even Roman times, about once every 3 or 4 years, you'd have to go pull your armor off the wall from above the fireplace, and you and the boys would have to go out and fight off the invading tribe of wherever's next to you. Now for us, war. My entire life, when we did the first Desert Storm, I was in like 8th grade. I remember watching Baghdad be blowed up on the night vision goggles, just watching that on a little 27-inch TV thinking, wow, this is what war's like? Yeah, it was just something on TV that was happening on the other side of the planet. Then we had the post 9/11 excursions, Afghanistan and Iraq, same thing, just something we watched on TV. My cousin went and fought, but nothing happens in America. In America, nothing gets blown up, nothing catches fire. There's no death, destruction, no blood. That's all something that has been external your entire life. What a weird, sanitized view we have of war these days. So Donald Trump walked off of an interview this weekend with Welker. Just want you to hear all this. I could have edited this down, but I wanted you to hear the full context here because he kind of comes back after he initially says he's done, and she says, a question, and he decides, I'm going to answer one more question, and then I'm going to walk off.
Evidence than ever presented.
Let's talk
your
about
elections in this country. We're like a third world country. Your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked, and so is ABC and CBS and CNN.
But Mr. President,
your one-sided crooked networks. Right, let's call it quits because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Mr. President, let's please. I traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
I've sat in the rain with you.
I know.
I've sat in the rain with you for an hour,
Wisconsin.
on and off in the rain, and I've given you enough time. You ought to straighten out your press because you know what?
Mr.
A
President,
country can never be great with a dishonest
Listen,
press.
we
Come on, let's
traveled
go.
all the way to Wisconsin for this interview.
Yeah, I've traveled all the way to Wisconsin. Come on, I'm in flyover state with all the mouth-breathing, window licker, booger eaters that we have to red state voting losers. Went all the way to Wisconsin. So you can, if you're going to go all the way to Wisconsin, you can at least be nice. So that's where we're at. A media that's 100% in opposition and antithetical to everything the guy who's running the country stands for. This is not a fun situation. And, you know, if you ever wanted to feel sympathy for the guy, just look at what is he to do? Just do interviews with Fox News and Newsmax all day, every day? Is he just supposed to go on talk radio only? Maybe Joe Rogan or Theo Vaughn every once in a while? I mean, how different would the landscape be if just one of the networks backed off of this Team Blue activism and actually just halfway reported balanced news? Because we like to remind the world, oh, Fox News is number one watched cable news channel. Okay, but in prime time, Fox News gets around 4 million or so viewers. ABC News gets 8 million. NBC News gets about, 6 million? And then CBS is trailing up the rear with like less than 4 million. And that's why they're having so many changes. That's why they're having their news director fired. That's why they're having changes at 60 Minutes, because they're getting clocked in the ratings. This isn't Trump being some sort of authoritarian, literally Hitler trying to censor the media. It's just one of the major networks going, you know, if we just got off of the Team Blue bandwagon for 5 seconds, that would differentiate us from these other two people. We're just copying the people that are beating us, and no wonder we're not catching them. You got to compete with ABC, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, all those. So that's what's really going on with that. We'll continue the breakdown of the media, but next we're going to talk to Colonel Grant Newsham. He's a retired U.S. Marine colonel, about what really is going on with Iran. And we'll talk about X's and O's on the ground, not just the media being mean to the president. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. All right, so what's really going on in Iran right now? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, on your home for Mark Lee Van Camp and Robbins, my next guest, returning to the James Show. Retired U.S. Marine Colonel Grant Newsham coming back on. Welcome back, Grant. So the speculation of the end of the Iran war is the same as it's been last week and the week before and the week before and the week before. We're told it could be ending at any second. I get the feeling Iran is just restocking and has no damn intention of ending this. Well, what are we going to do next? Are we going to start bombing too? Well, Grant Newsham, speculate on why we haven't hit that stuff already. Is it expensive? Is it hard? Is it? Well, Grant Newsham, I hear the Houthi rebels are causing problems again. What's going on down in the Yemeni area? Do we know who we are talking to yet? Grant Newsham, do we have any proof of life on the Ayatollah? All right. Well, thanks for the sort of bad news. I mean, it's not really that bright and shiny over there. CenterForSecurityPolicy.org is his website. Thank you, Grant Newsham, for being on the James Show again. Appreciate it. All right. Coming up next, I think maybe to solve the Iran war, we might have to send Scott Pelley over there with his platoon. We'll make fun of his combat service on 60 Minutes next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am enjoying the 60 Minutes meltdown just a little too much. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. 60 Minutes has been a stalwart your entire life. After football games, you've heard this dumb ticking stopwatch, and then they go on and they lie to your face for 60 minutes. They've been wrong about every major story of your entire life. They'll get things right about an apartment fire or whatever, but they've told you all the lies about how the Soviet Union was a co-equal superpower up until the month that it collapsed. They've told you all the lies about global warming. They told you that there was going to be more, stronger, and more intense hurricanes hitting after Katrina. They told you there would be no more snows on Kilimanjaro. They told you there'd be no more polar ice cap. And they told you that the Iraq war was a quagmire, and well, then there's no way we'll ever overthrow Saddam Hussein like the day before we overthrew him. They told you all the lies about George Floyd. They told you all the lies about Trayvon Martin, all the lies about Michael Brown, all the race right BLM lies. They've told you all the lies about Antifa. They sat by and cheered on the greatest violation of our constitutional rights in your entire life during COVID. They cheered on when governments across the country stepped in and blocked your constitutional right to assembly, to freedom of religion, to freedom of speech, to freedom of the press, all during COVID. Then they turn around and they try and be constitutional stalwarts. Well, we're just originalists over here when it comes to redistricting. They lied to you about masks. They lied to you about social distancing. They lied to you about the vaccine. They didn't let you, they were cool with not letting you go to your own grandmother's funeral, to not getting together to protest the lockdowns, while simultaneously endorsing the mass gatherings of the George Floyd protesters. 60 Minutes was in on all those lies. 60 Minutes was in on the lies about Hunter Biden's laptop, about Russian collusion. 60 Minutes has gotten every major important political story wrong your entire life. And seeing as how CBS News' ratings are in the toilet, well, I mean, compared to the other networks, they're way behind ABC and NBC News. It's not crazy that there's some big changes that are happening over there. I just can't roll my eyes hard enough at the people who are saying, oh, this is Donald Trump being a fascist and just trying to install sycophantic media. You know what? Shut up. I think the perfect encapsulation of this, Chris Murphy, a senator from Connecticut, was on Bill Maher's show on Friday. Bill Maher, Democrat, Team Blue. Just a reasonable Democrat, a reasonable Team Blue member who doesn't say things he knows to not be true, who doesn't pretend to be incensed by very common things. This is their back and forth on the big changes at 60 Minutes. I broke it down into two parts for you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're watching a censorship state be created. Trump is using the powers that he has available as president of the United States to install only friendly ownership at the big media companies. He's using regulatory powers to punish people who oppose him. I guess it's fascinating to me that, like, all our big institutions have kind of let us down, right? From academia to the corporate world to big media. They've all folded in with him. The people have just decided they're hanging on to this democracy.
That's a big charge that you just made. That 60 Minutes itself and CBS itself is now completely MAGA. I don't see it that way.
Completely MAGA.
Well, it's kind of what you said.
But he is clearly intent on installing people who will tell his story.
Oh, of course.
And will keep his critics off the air.
But let me ask you this question. I watch 60 Minutes every week. I've had since I was a kid. If I didn't hear all the buzz in the media, if I didn't read about it all the time, would I ever notice that it was any different? I don't think I would.
But what a fantasy world Senator Murphy lives in. Yeah, see, all the corporations, the media, academia have gone into the MAGA fold. Really? You know, we're in the middle of Pride Month, where every corporation that is speaking out on Pride Month is speaking out in favor of it. Show me the corporation right now that is speaking out against Pride Month. Against it. They're either silent or in favor of it. Which one is rolled into the MAGA fold over here? Any of them? Texas Rangers? So what an absolute fantasy. Oh yeah, academia. Yeah, that stalwart MAGA juggernaut of academia. Yeah, that's overwhelmingly right wing right there. What a fantasy. Like just 100% of the opposite of the truth. But here it is again. This attempt to deify these people on 60 Minutes. Like, look at the sacrifices they've made. It's ridiculous. You know, these are not amazing people. This is not an amazing job that is tough to do.
Also, I just don't think being a 60 Minutes correspondent is that hard. I don't feel like Scott Pelley was a national treasure. Companies change hands all the time. I never liked them, sorry, I just never did. Companies change hands. People bring in their own people, their new ownership. You know, just because something changes doesn't mean. I feel like we see everything through such a partisan lens. Oh my God, 60 Minutes has a new cast. So does Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I love the claim that Donald Trump just wants to install people that only agree with him. Maybe if someone lied about you colluding with Russia for the last 8 years, maybe if they got everything wrong about Hunter Biden's laptop and about the election of 2020 irregularities and COVID, and maybe you would say, hey, perhaps we should replace some of these people who've gotten everything wrong and replace them with the correct worldview, or at least a worldview that is reflected by reality. But that's not what literally Hitler did. Calm down. Now, if you thought that was annoying, you're going to roll your eyes so hard in the next segment because Scott Pelley has been going out doing interviews about how much he sacrificed for this company, or for this country, for you. And it's getting criticized as stolen valor. I want you to hear this soundbite coming up in the next segment, and I want you to decide in your head, is this stolen valor or not? So Scott Pelley's on the hot seat on the James Show next. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Yeah. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP, your ace of spades in the talk radio world. Also, your home for Mark Lee, Van Camp, and Robbins. They're on WBAP from 11 to 2. Check them out if you don't love them already. If you're just joining us, we're making fun of the hullabaloo that's being made over some minor changes at 60 Minutes. And 60 Minutes, we're being told it's making a decided move to the right. Now, if you're going to the right from where 60 Minutes is, you have a long way to go before you even get to the center. And the idea that it is now turned to some sycophantic MAGA wish list, it's just absurd and laughable. But it's also interesting to see what, like, Scott Pelley got let go from 60 Minutes after however many years of lying to your face every Sunday night. And he is going on these interviews, and his view of himself is so fantastical. Meaning, this dude lives in fantasy land. And if you've ever doubted the incredible ego that these people have, I want you to remember this interview for the rest of your life. Because I've been around these people. I work in radio now, but I've worked in TV. My last job before this was in TV. And then 2 jobs before that, I was in TV in a big city as well. And these people, TV people, are so full of themselves. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing to be full of yourself, especially if you're going to be in the public eye and if you're going to be on TV or if you're going to be on the radio. You necessarily need to be a little full of yourself. And it takes a little bit of an ego for me to think whatever I say into this dumb microphone that 100,000 people are going to be interested to hear it. So you have to be a little bit of a ham, a little bit of a vanity project to do this job. TV people are even worse than radio people. And the higher you get up into the ranks, the higher the vanity goes, to where when you get to New York City, where the hub of all the big networks are, it is just a volcano of egotistic idiocy constantly spewing out of these people. And the longer they stay up there, the more their fantasy gets reinforced. So Scott Pelley, I mean, he tears up in this interview a couple times. And there's 2 things that I'm playing for. I could play 10 things. I picked 2 things out that you're just going to slap your knee over. Number 1 is the idea that 60 Minutes is not biased. 60 Minutes, in your entire existence, in my lifetime, I have never seen you do one positive story about guns and gun rights. I've never seen you do positive stories about how great it would be to balance the budget, or what would be different. How would America be different if we got rid of all our social programs? What if we got rid of Social Security? Did you ever have anyone on who was spelling that out? Did you ever have a libertarian on for 5 seconds? Not in my lifetime. Hey, have you ever done a story about a white American who was unjustly murdered by a racist black cop? No, you've only done the opposite because you're a bunch of hacks. You're absolutely biased. And so for Scott Pelley to go on an interview, and this came out on Friday, 60 Minutes is not biased. I can't laugh hard enough.
What was the feeling about that particular opening salvo to the team?
She, I am told, said something to the effect of, why do you think the country thinks you're biased? But she didn't offer any kind of a metric. You know, what's your metric? Why do you think so? Do you have a poll? Is there market research? What are you talking about? Because we certainly didn't believe that.
Man, it's so obvious. Like, I even spelled it out before I played the sound clip there. If you only do stories about people who are unjustly killed by cops, if it fits your racial narrative, that's a bias. If you're only reporting one side of the story, isn't that what a bias is? Have they ever done they've done stories about people who've been unjustly killed by guns, unjustly murdered, weird suicides, accidental shootings, things like that? Has 60 Minutes ever done one story in their entire 50 whatever year existence about a woman who died from a botched abortion? Did it never happen, or they just never report on anything that, that doesn't fit their narrative? They're biased. And then here's the other part where, man, if you think the bias comment's just fantasy land, think about it. Think about you've been at a station, you've been on a TV show for God knows how many decades, and all of the stories have gone one way, and then for you to go to an interview and say, we're not biased, that takes a pair of cantaloupes swinging between your legs, doesn't it? This one's even worse. Scott Pelley talks about being in combat. Now, a lot of veterans are upset because they say this is stolen valor or whatever. I'm not going to go that far. I don't think this is stolen valor. I think this is just absolute fantasy land because he acts like this is some sort of sacrifice. Like, here's what I did for the country. No, you did it for $5 million a year. This wasn't some sort of charity altruism that you were doing out of a sense of honor and duty to the Constitution. You were doing this because it made you incredibly famous. It made you incredibly prestigious. It made you a star at all the cocktail parties with all the cool kids inside the Beltway and at the Manhattan, whatever, social scene. You didn't do this for the troops. You didn't do this for the people in flyover country. You didn't do this for the Constitution. And just how does he walk through the door with a head this big?
I've never worn the uniform, but I've been in combat for this country in Afghanistan and Iraq, Kuwait, been shot at, spent nights in foxholes filling up with water in the desert. I'm not aware that the President of the United States has ever done any of those things for his country. Please correct me if I'm wrong. You become a journalist because you love the First Amendment. You become a journalist because you love the country. And while all the other descriptions that the president used about me might be applicable, not that one. There is no democracy without journalism. It can't be done. And that is why I am a journalist.
Yes, the whole democracy falls apart without Scott Pelley lying to you every Sunday. Did y'all hear that? He was in a foxhole. You really think CBS was going to go let the guy they're paying $5 million a year get shot and die? It's ridiculous. I did this for you. No, you did it for $5 million. You did it because it's an incredibly prestigious job. You did it because you wanted to be a celebrity. This is why people become journalists. No, I have met them. They want to be on TV because they think it's cool. And they want everyone to look at them and they like the attention. That's why people become media figures. If you just want to be a journalist, why don't you just go write a column and get off TV? Why don't you just go write books so no one knows what you look like, so no one knows your name? Is that stolen valor? Kinda. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we have the Stars moving to Plano, and they may move tonight. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, we're just mocking media for stolen valor, and then we're going to mock the downtown Dallas for losing both of his sports franchises. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome back to the big show. If you're just joining us, the media's self-aggrandizing is just, it's so funny in one aspect, but also it's quite illuminating. And the fact that you see that they really do live in a fantasy world. They really do live in a bubble. And I don't say that just to dismiss them outright. I mean, it's just a returning pattern that happens over and over and over. And are you familiar with what's called the gel man amnesia effect? It is a human behavior concept that was coined by Michael Crichton, the guy that wrote Jurassic Park and a bunch of other great books. Fantastic author, no longer with us. But he's the one who explained the gel man amnesia effect. And I think he did it in one of his books. And it goes like this. Have you ever been to a sporting event or seen a car wreck or seen a news event? And then the next day, you either see in the paper or in the digital version of the paper online, some reporter's accounting of that story. And you're like, he got everything wrong. That's not what happened at all. Or you look at the news and you're told that, yeah, Hunter Biden's laptop, Russian disinformation. You find out a couple years later that was totally not true. But then what happens? Do you go say, well, I guess I'm not going to listen to CBS anymore, or I'm not going to listen to ABC or Scott Pelley anymore or 60 Minutes anymore? No, you just forget about it. And then the next day when they tell you about, the COVID vaccine, you don't go, no, sorry, you're the idiots who got all that other stuff wrong. I don't listen to you anymore. Most of the country just forgets about it and goes along and buys the next lie, even if the previous lies have been exposed. And so I try and hold on to that, even in the micro level of our own backyard. Remember, you were being told for no reason, just out of nowhere for the last 8 months, that all of a sudden City Hall needed to be torn down. Why would you believe them if they got all this other stuff wrong, if they constantly get stories wrong? In fact, they constantly get them the opposite of what they should be. When I hear that story, I immediately think there's no way City Hall needs to be torn down. We need to stop this and get to the bottom of it. When they say, well, we need a high-speed rail train from here to Houston, you know what you should think? We need to rip up our tracks here in Dallas and end it. You need to think just the opposite. We don't need to add tracks. We need to take tracks out of circulation. So it's with that I am taking this whole reporting on the Stars and Mavericks leaving downtown with a huge boulder of salt. But found out something interesting this morning. The Stars could be making their official move to Plano. They could make it official tonight at a Plano meeting.
The idea of the Dallas Stars no longer being in the city of Dallas becomes a little more real tonight. A 12-page letter of intent will go before Plano City Council today, and I've pulled that up, and in big bold letters it says, letter of intent regarding proposed new indoor sports and entertainment arena complex in Plano, Texas. Last week, the Dallas Stars announced that they want to move to Plano and build a new arena at the Shops at Willow Bend. The news came just one day after the Dallas Mavericks also announced a move out of downtown Dallas and into far north Dallas. Tonight, Plano City Council members will consider a letter of intent tied to that project, but it's important to note that this agreement is non-binding, meaning either the city or the developers involved or even the team could still walk away from this potential deal without penalty. Now, as far as the letter goes, I've reviewed it, and it says developers expect the project to cost at least $1 billion to build. It also says the city of Plano intends to contribute up to $700 million in funding toward the arena project. Also on tonight's agenda is what is called an economic development incentive agreement tied to a project at Willow Bend. This is a separate agenda item from the letter of intent, but it appears to be connected given the project on the table. We will certainly give you any developments and new details as they come when the meeting starts at 7 p.m. In Plano, I'm Natalie Haddad.
All right, let me tell you what I didn't like about that, because I liked all of Natalie Haddad's report, and this is nothing wrong with Natalie Haddad. It's just the details of the deal that's rolling around here. I did not like the fact that Plano said that they're willing to spend $700 million toward the project. Now, let me put some caveats in that. Because if they're going to use this to build a stadium, I have a problem with it. The whole reason they're leaving the American Airlines Center in downtown Dallas, where I'm broadcasting from right this second, is because they don't own their stadium. And they're jealous of these other franchises who get to own their stadium. So they get to keep all the revenue from their stadium. And if there's going to be a Bad Bunny concert or Grupo Frontera or Dua Lipa or whoever's going to do a concert there, then they get to make money off that too. It's their stadium. Right now, the city of Dallas owns the American Airlines Center. So the Stars and the Mavericks are both missing out on that revenue. Now, it sounded like a good deal at the time because in exchange for a free stadium, they didn't get ownership. But are they going to have both the free stadium and the ownership of the stadium? Because now this is just corporate welfare on a gargantuan, astronomical level. Again, another caveat. I am okay with Plano spending money to develop the infrastructure around it. If you need a new highway ramp or if you got to redo some curbs or make a different entrance or widen the road right there at what road is that? Is that Park? The other one's Chapel Hill on the top. If you've got to expand those or do something to that effect, maybe put up some street lights or beautification, or you want to plant some trees in the median or something. Totally fine. Just don't take taxpayer money and give it to this billionaire family who owns the Stars. This is a corporation. We are against welfare, even for corporations. And so I'm not being nitpicky. I just want to see some pushback on that part. Sure, go to Plano, but don't go there because you get to fleece the taxpayers and trick them, force them into paying for a stadium that is going to privately enrich a hockey team or a corporation that owns a hockey team for things that aren't even hockey related. I don't like that part. And I think I'm going to lose on that part too. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, they're stealing an election again. This one's in California. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Mom, they're still in elections again. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Yeah, it's happening in California, and we were talking about it on at the end of last week. If you've been paying attention to the news over the weekend, you've been watching this sinking ship. Another just a complete anomaly of statistics happen in front of your face during an election. It's the weirdest thing. And of all these weird math-breaking, pattern-breaking, statistic-breaking anomalies, they all tend to favor Team Blue. Jeez, that's so weird. So we'll get to that after I got a couple callers here who want to talk about the Stars moving to Plano. I'm cool with them moving to Plano. I'm not cool with $700 million being taken from the taxpayers of Plano and used for the benefit of the Stars so they can make some more money. I don't know. Do these people agree with me? Let's find out. Jeremy in Arlington. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
What's up, James? So, yeah, I don't. What does the Plano? What is what are the people of Plano actually getting out of it? Because $700 million of my tax money, I mean, that seems like that's a pretty big penny for me to float. And not get anything beneficial back from it.
There's two answers. Do you want me to tell you the answer that they tell the taxpayers or what really happens?
Yeah. What really happens? There we go.
It's a loss. That you never make that money back. The $700 million, they promise it'll be like $800 billion of economic activity, but you're going to go look at your revenues and your receipts, and the change in the tax base and the change in the tax revenues is never going to pay back that $700 million. So that's what happens in real life. What they tell you, though, like what's going to be what they tell in press releases and the news is going to repeat it on the TV stations and pretty much every other radio station is, well, it's economic activity. It's going to bring all kinds of business, and they're going to have concerts, and people are going to come from all over, and they're going to spend their money here, and they're going to stay at our hotels, and it'll generate millions and millions and millions of dollars of revenue. Really? Then just keep doing this. Just spend infinity dollars if you have a bigger return than what you spend, and let's get infinity plus $1 back. You know, it's mathematically impossible, the things that they promise.
That's what they're going to get, because that's how it is in Arlington. You know, I live not far from the stadium, and that's what they're going to gain out of it is traffic.
Well, you know, it's so obvious.
In a bad way, not in a good way.
No, I get it. I get it. Now, I work at the American Airlines Center, and I invite anybody to come down here. If you want to just spend about 10 minutes and walk around the American Airlines Center, I will show you all of the empty retail at the bottom of these tall buildings in the near uptown area. It never works out. You never get the economic return. And look, it's going to be the same thing that's happening with the World Cup starting this week. The World Cup's opening up this week. We're going to have some games. We're going to have like 9 games here in Arlington, and we're promised that, hey, we've got to spend like $700 million worth of new DART and police and security and travel and media and upgrading the convention center for the media, whatever, headquarters. We're not going to get that money back either. It's all the Olympics. No. It's a loser. Yeah, they're all losers.
That's right.
All right.
That's right. All right, James. Have a great night, brother.
Hey, great call. I like you. Let's go to Mike in Oklahoma. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
James, you're right. It is a grift. It's going on in lots of places. Oklahoma City's getting $1 billion arena paid for. San Antonio's trying to do it. The only privately financed one I know of is in Seattle. Surprisingly, for
there's a few
dollars. But you're right. You'll never.
Okay, listen, Mike.
You'll never get your money back.
I know sometimes I try not to be annoying being a libertarian because I know almost nobody agrees with me here. But in my little libertarian economic circles, we love what's going on with the Los Angeles Chargers. They had a billionaire who got the team, and he wanted to move to the much bigger market. He wanted to move to market number 2, the Los Angeles, the second biggest media market in the country. It didn't have a football team. So he went to them, and they're like, well, what kind of deal can you give me to build a stadium? They're like, screw you. We don't even like sports. We like Hollywood and dancing and Pride Month and, I don't know, Bud Light or whatever. And so he went to like Anaheim. He's like, hey, what can y'all give me a deal? Well, he ended up getting Inglewood, who gave him like a tax abatement, no money from the taxpayers, and he built the whole damn thing himself, and he got to own the thing. And so then he's making, because he has to make that thing profitable, he has like the restaurants that are in the bottom, they're open all the time. Like right here in the American Airlines Center, during games and concerts, there's a restaurant that's open in all four corners, or there's a store in one of them. There's stores that are open in all four corners. They're only open during events. If they were open during lunch, they could be making money off this thing every single day of the year instead of just a handful, but they don't care. It's owned by the city of Dallas. The city of Dallas has no profit motive to put in the extra work. But this guy made his own private stadium. He's making money hand over fist. And this is why all these other franchises want to own their own stadium. They're like, yeah, it was nice getting a freebie from the city of Dallas, but if we can do what this guy did, we can make money every day of the year off of this dumb stadium. And we could even get some suckers, taxpayers in Plano to foot the bill for us. And so they get the best of both worlds. They get all the free market capitalism results of chasing profits, and the taxpayers of Plano get stuck footing the bill, almost none of whom will ever go to a Stars game.
And the Bears are doing it to Chicago, too. I just remember that from last week. So you're right. It's a big grift.
Well, if they put it up to the voters of Plano, vote against it. And that's all you can do. That's all the power you have, sadly enough. All right, coming up next on The James Show, we're going to play Dead or Alive. We're playing for 2 tickets to see Luke Bryan. Luke Bryan's going to be at Dickies Arena on June 11th. If you don't know I did that voice, that's how he sounds. Get tickets and information at livenation.com, or you can call in right now. And if you can name if these 10 Davids are dead or alive, I'll give you a pair of tickets in the next segment. 800-288-9227. Dead or Alive next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, you're just in time for our game show, Dead or Alive. This is the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And on Mondays at 4:35-ish, we play a game. We got to give away some tickets to see Luke Bryan. And this is the easier of the game shows, so stick around if you're new to it. This is Dead or Alive. Thank you, Mr. Jovi. Welcome to Dead or Alive. I'm going to give you the name of 10 celebrities. You have to tell me if they're dead or alive, and if that sounds easy, it is. Today's category is Famous Davids. Today's prize, 2 tickets to see Luke Bryan, Dickies Arena, June 11th. For the rest of us losers, we can go get tickets at livenation.com. But someone's going to get a free pair from WBAP right now. And I guess we kind of have to start with David, don't we? That was Garrett's recommendation. He actually had a good idea today. So we'll start with Dave in Burleson. Well, just by virtue of your name, you're going to be first up on Dead or Alive. You ready, David?
Awesome. I am ready, and I am alive.
Okay. How confident are you in your knowledge of your fellow Davids?
I'm pretty confident, James.
All right. I like the sound of that. We're going to start off with David Bowie. I know the English people like to pronounce it Bowie, but they're wrong. Is he dead or alive?
He is dead.
He is dead, unfortunately. There's going to be a lot of musicians in this one, David. Next one is David Allan Coe, country singer, dead or alive?
David Allan Coe, I believe, recently died.
Yeah, I think it's like 2 weeks ago. We never even called him by his name. Dave Crosby from the very overrated Crosby, Stills, and Nash, dead or alive?
He is alive.
No. Actually, he I'm sorry. He passed away in 2023.
Oh.
So, sorry about that. And I know I ticked off a bunch of Crosby, Stills, and Nash fans. But thank you, David. Unfortunate start. We go down to Ann. Hey, Ann, you ready for Dead or Alive?
Yes, sir, I am.
Next one, I mean, kind of a singer, more of an actor. David Hasselhoff, dead or alive?
Alive.
You sure?
Absolutely.
All right, yeah, he is. I was just playing with you. 73 years old. All right, and this is Dave Letterman, dead or alive?
Alive.
79 years old, Ann in Fort Worth. David Byrne, lead singer of the Talking Heads, dead or alive?
Oh, boy. He's alive.
74 years old. David Gilmour from Pink Floyd, dead or alive?
Ooh.
Right?
Alive?
Yes. I like it when you can totally tell when they're guessing. All right, next up, the magician David Copperfield, dead or alive?
Alive.
69 years old. Nice. From the Monkees, Davy Jones, dead or alive?
Oh, he's dead.
Yep, died in 2012. And finally, Ann from Fort Worth for the Luke Bryan tickets. All you got to do is get one more. David Carradine from Kung Fu, dead or alive?
He is dead.
You get bonus if you can remember how he died.
Ooh. He was found hanging.
And that's enough. That's enough. That'll do. We don't need all the details. And Fort Worth is good enough. Just if you don't know what the joke is, people, the New York Post headline from the day after David Carradine passed away, they used the headline "Hung Fu." I remember that one. All right, well, Ann, that's a great headline. All right, Ann, you a big Luke Bryan fan?
Sorta.
Who you taking?
I don't know yet.
You don't have like a husband or something, or?
No, I don't.
All
but
right.
I'm available.
All right. Anybody, if you want to try and charm Ann into some Luke Bryan tickets, she's getting an extra one. I'm going to put you on hold. Regular Garrett will get your information. We'll email you the tickets. And thank you very much, Ann in Fort Worth. You did a great job winning today's Dead or Alive. Beautiful story from our friends over at WFAA, a guy who's kind of a neighbor. He's from Bug Tussle, one of the many tiny towns I use the label Bug Tussle for. DeMarvion Overshawn, the first guy in Cowboys history that I've known being from the High School of ARP, which is right next to the high school I went to growing up. I think we had the same zip code, like in my childhood home and his childhood home. But he got married this weekend.
There were wedding bells over the weekend for Dallas Cowboys star DeMarvion Overshown.
That's right. DeMarvion and his bride Alexis tied the knot Saturday in front of their friends, family, and teammates in their hometown of Tyler. The newlyweds said it was important for them to return to their roots.
Getting married in East Texas is extremely important to us. Very full circle moment.
I think it's definitely going to open the eyes of a lot of people to just the East Texas and our families in general. So we very appreciative and wouldn't want to spend this time nowhere else.
They also used all local vendors as a way to give back to their community.
I love that.
We want to congratulate DeMarvion and Alexis on their marriage. DeMarvion, you're looking good, my brother. You walking, you done rehab. We ready to see you on the field. Listen.
Fresh off a wedding.
Love him as a player. Congrats to the happy couple.
And thank you, WFAA, for being the rarity in the media that actually celebrates the creation of a nuclear family and people falling in love and getting married. I think the whole world needs a whole lot more of that. Coming up next, a story that slipped under my radar. There was a guy who hijacked a Dallas police car, and then we just got the body cam release yesterday from the cops who, when the guy stole his police car, one of them jumped in the back as he was pulling off, and it ended up not too good. There's a little bit of a fender bender there, but you'll hear the crazy body cam audio coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, you're about to hear some cool body cam audio. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And those three guys run through a lot of stories, but I don't think they're going to have this one, because this one, I think I saw a write-up on it on our news partner, WFAA.com, when it happened, but there wasn't any video. There wasn't any audio. It's not that compelling on the radio for me to just tell this story. And so then we had an update where the Dallas Police Department released a video with a guy that came in and explained what happened. And then they showed the body cam video. Now, when I play you the body cam video, there's a few edits in there because it switches between the camera that's in the car and on one cop versus the other cop. But first, let me give you the intro that they put before the body cam video, where the spokesman for the Dallas Police Department explains what happened. So this was an incident that took place on May 30th.
On May 30th, 2026, at approximately 5:35 p.m., officers conducted a traffic stop for registration violation in the 2300 block of South Marsalis Avenue. The traffic stop resulted in the arrest of 37-year-old Stacy Huffman for driving while license invalid, possession of a controlled substance, and unlawful possession of a firearm. Officers Harper and Conti were working together at the time of the stop. Officer Conti handcuffed Huffman and placed him in the rear seat of the squad car while the officers completed their on-scene investigation. At some point after being placed in the squad car, Huffman managed to remove his left hand from the handcuffs and concealed his hands behind his body. As officers began to transport Huffman to jail, he attempted to open the locked rear door of the squad car and removed his seatbelt. At approximately 6:10 p.m., officers Harper and Conti exited the vehicle after stopping at northbound Interstate 35 near Illinois Avenue in an attempt to restrain Huffman. While both officers were outside the squad car, Huffman climbed into the driver's seat and drove away. Officer Harper was able to enter the rear seat of the vehicle as Huffman fled. While Officer Conti remained outside the vehicle, Officer Harper deployed his taser, but it was ineffective after Huffman pulled the taser wires away. Officer Harper then drew his duty weapon. As Huffman accelerated the vehicle, Officer Harper struck Huffman on the side of the head with the weapon. Huffman continued driving erratically, causing the squad car to fishtail. Officer Harper was violently thrown throughout the rear seat while attempting to regain control of the situation. After traveling approximately 1,000 feet at speeds reaching approximately 50 miles per hour, Huffman opened the driver's door and exited from the moving vehicle. Officer Harper was able to take control of the squad car and prevent a collision. Huffman was rendered unconscious and taken into custody.
What is this Simon and Simon? This sounds like an 80s, buddy cop sitcom episode. Let me get this straight. There's two cops. They think they've got their perp in the back all cuffed up, but he slips out of the cuffs, undoes his seatbelt, starts yanking on the door handle. So they pull over, they get out, and he jumps in the front seat. And as he's pulling off, the guy named Harper jumps into the back seat. They switch to, you'll hear this in just a second. You'll hear him switch to his body camera. That is him doing a horizontal DeMarvion Overshawn tackle looking, leap into the back seat while firing the taser into this guy. It looks like it hits him in the back of the neck, in the trapezius, where your muscles get all sore after you've been stressed out. And this isn't a big guy. This guy looks like he's maybe 5'7", 5'8", a little Hispanic looking fella. He just swipes off the wires, but he takes off. And so he's on 35 immediately, and there's traffic and there's cars around, and this is 5:30 in the afternoon. And so you'll hear all this. And then you heard him say he hit him in the head with his service weapon. I'm not sure if he did that on purpose or the guy was just swerving around through traffic and it was thrown around the cop in the back. And then you see this guy open the door and he just bails out like he does a nom roll. And the car looks like it's going at least 40 miles an hour. And so when this guy just disappears, it's headed sort of diagonally across 35 at another car. And so the cop can only get his right leg. He's sideways between the two bucket seats in the front. And he's trying to reach the brake with his right leg while his left leg is still kind of behind the driver's seat. So he finally gets it to come to a stop there. But listen to this audio that goes with it now that I've given you a much better description than the Dallas police. But look at what a wild adventure this is.
What the are you doing? Stop. What the are you doing? Hey, he get in the car.
Hear the taser?
Stop the car! Stop the car! Stop the car!
There's he getting slung around. Now he dives out.
Oh my God.
Now he comes up. Now he's hitting the brake. That was it. So what an amazing move. Whoever Officer Harper is, you're a bad dude. You are awesome. You're like a TV show. I hope you don't have to do that every day. That was actually that was really impressive. Officer Harper. Another round of applause for that guy. Holy crap, that was amazing. By the way, just keep in mind, right now, Karmelo Anthony trial, they're going to do the closing arguments tomorrow. There's a bunch of people up there who are so upset that this guy may be sent to jail. For the people who really are concerned about the well-being of the black community, are you upset about this mass shooting that happened in Fort Worth? It's like the 18th one that's happened in the last 2 months around here.
Police in Fort Worth are looking for the person who opened fire on a crowd after a community gathering. You heard that. A camera at a nearby business near Stop 6 Park caught the moment it happened. People taking cover from rain at the after party when shots rang out. Police say one woman was shot in the head, another in the hip. A child was grazed by a bullet, and an officer was hurt in that shooting. One woman is in critical condition. The rest are expected to be okay. We heard some frustration from people who were there just wanting to celebrate.
Every time you try to go somewhere, have a good time, you're happy. So it's pretty much the norm nowadays.
A person who was there told WFAA he does not remember hearing or seeing anything significant leading up to the shooting. Fort Worth police said the gunman was dressed in all black and got away after. Police are asking anyone with information to reach out to their department.
All right, for the race hucksters up at the Karmelo Anthony trial are so concerned about the suffering of your community. Why are you more worried? Explain to you. They've never been able to explain to you why they're more worried about one of their murderers being sent to jail, this one, rather than the guy that was shooting a mass shooting at Fort Worth last night that actually injured members of their community. They're not going to be nearly as concerned about justice for that guy, are they? And they've never been able to explain that, have they? All right, you got to keep it right here because tomorrow is closing arguments for the Karmelo Anthony trial. Some of that it might be wrapped up before the James show starts. And the jury, I don't know how long they're going to deliberate, but the clock starts ticking tomorrow, and we are going to have an answer to this case within the next couple of days as far as most lawyers are expecting. So keep it right here, and we'll keep you updated as soon as we find out. We'll definitely tell you. Thank you very much for hanging out with the James Show. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.